I was labeling travel-size sunscreen bottles for the grandkids when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up, harsh and cold, like an operating room light. And then the message appeared, "You won't be joining us. My wife wants this vacation to be just her family. You've already done your part by paying." Sent at 11:00 p.m., 2 nights before the flight. I don't remember how long I sat there after reading it. The only sound was the soft hum of the refrigerator, steady and cruel. I had just finished preparing little souvenir bags with tags that said, "Aloha, Grandma loves you." But now the word "her family" was ringing in my ears like a hammer to glass. And me? What was I now? A wallet with a pulse? A ghost with a credit score? Once, I was his superhero. I still keep that old drawing Nathan made in second grade. The one with me in a red cape, floating above the world, captioned, "My mom saves the day." I guess I'm not in that story anymore. Now I'm just a line he edited out with one cold message. No phone call, no thank you. Not even the decency of a soft lie. Just deletion, quick and clean. I wasn't blind to Tanya, my daughter-in-law. She corrects me in front of the kids like I'm one of them. She looks past me, not through me. The way you'd look past a coat rack or an old lamp. But I never thought Nathan would go along with it. I really believed he was better than this. Turns out, I was wrong. I glanced at the small duffel I had packed for myself. 2 faded sundresses, a photo of James, my late husband, a lavender candle, his favorite scent, a box of matches. I had imagined all of us on the beach, barefoot, holding hands, lighting candles in his memory. The grandkids asking, did Grandpa love the beach too? And me saying he loved it more because he shared it with me. That vision, I held on to it for 3 years. 3 years of saving. Every time I skipped buying new shoes or turned the heat down, I put that money into a jar behind the flower, my dream jar. I tutored students online even when my back ached and my eyes burned. All for one last family trip to Hawaii. To reconnect, to heal, to remember. I chose a villa by the ocean. I paid for flights. I booked shuttles, planned meals around allergies, called the travel agent more times than I can count. I even ordered custom t-shirts. Family is forever, 2023. But apparently, I wasn't family. Not anymore. I thought about calling him. I picked up the phone, then put it down. What would I say? Please let me come. I couldn't beg, not after all I'd given. Instead, I opened my laptop. Folder, Hawaii Travel Fund, balance, $21,763.84, all mine. Every dollar, earned through sacrifice and love. I was the sole account holder. Every card, the resort, the flights, the excursions, all linked to me. I hovered over the freeze account button. One click would stop it all. But I didn't click. Not yet. I opened a blank document and started typing a new list. Not of excursions. Of names. Carol, whose son stopped calling after she got cancer. Louise. Buried her husband and brings his photo to Bible study. Frances raised her grandkids but wasn't invited to their graduations. Beverly, who told me no one's ever taken her picture at the beach. I saved the file. Then I went back to the bank site. Are you sure you want to freeze all transactions? Yes. All linked cards will be disabled immediately. Yes. I closed the laptop. The sound was quiet, final, like the closing of a door that never opens again. Then I picked up the souvenir bag I had made for my youngest grandson. I took out the keychain and placed it on the table. Then the others, one by one. And for the first time in 3 years, I let myself imagine a different kind of trip. One where I wasn't excluded. One where I wasn't erased. One where I chose who gets to come. Not out of revenge, but something stronger. Clarity. The kitchen still smelled like sunscreen and tape. The Ziploc bags I'd lovingly labeled with each child's name sat in a row on the counter, little time bombs of tenderness. But now they were artifacts, souvenirs from a trip I would not take. They didn't even lie. That was what stuck the deepest. Not even a soft cover of kindness. Not even the courtesy of pretense. Just, you've already done your part by paying. That sentence echoed louder than any scream could have. It told me exactly where I stood. Not as a mother, not even as a guest, just as a transaction, a wallet with a pulse. I sat in the dark for hours, the house hushed around me, as if it, too, had been discarded. The quiet wasn't peaceful, it was clinical. The kind of silence that follows an amputation, not bleeding, just gone. But this didn't start with a text. This started years ago, and I let it. It was the Thanksgiving photo where Tanya said, "Let's do one with just the kids," and I held the camera. Then Christmas, when they all wore matching red sweaters with tiny white trees, and mine was navy. No one told me there was a theme. Nathan waved it off. "You don't really like that stuff, Mom." But I did. I just wasn't asked. Then birthdays. Not mine. Not anymore. Tanya hosted everything at her mother's house. I was invited, sure. But I was a placeholder. Introduced to guests as Nathan's mom, she's here too, like I'd wandered in off the sidewalk. They were skilled, I'll give them that. No explosions, no cruelty you could point to. Just exclusions. Small, sharp, and constant. Not bullets. Needles. Not once did I say anything. Because mothers don't want to rock the boat. Mothers are supposed to be easy, grateful, flexible. Mothers, good mothers, wait quietly for the crumbs and smile as if they'd been fed a feast. So I smiled. When Tanya rolled her eyes at my stories, when she corrected me in front of the children, when she left my name off party banners, RSVP lists, and finally, the passenger list to Hawaii. The family trip. The one I'd dreamed about since James passed. The one I thought would stitch us back together. Because that's what you do when you're fading. You create light. You think, maybe if we're all under the same sky again, with waves at our feet and candles in our hands, they'll remember who I am. I had planned every detail. A beachfront villa with smooth walkways for Tanya's mother's knees. Custom t-shirts that said, "Family is Forever 2023. A fire pit for a sunset candlelight memory for James, lavender-scented his favorite. I had even imagined my grandson asking, "Did Grandpa love the beach?" And me saying he loved it enough to bring me here before we could afford it. But no one would ask. No one would hear the answer. Because I was not invited. I was edited out, like I'd never been there at all. What they didn't know, what Nathan didn't bother to ask, was what it cost me. Not just the money, but the little denials I fed myself daily. I'm overthinking it. They're busy. It's not personal. But it was. It was entirely personal, because to remove someone from a family without telling them is the cruelest kind of surgery, one done without anesthesia. And I felt every slice. Still. I didn't cry that night. I didn't throw anything or call anyone or scream at the ceiling. I just sat. A woman, uninvited from her own legacy. It started with a jar. A plain old mason jar, tucked behind the flower in the back of my kitchen cabinet. I called it the dream jar, though no one knew that but me. Each time I skipped a little luxury, my favorite tea, a warm pair of slippers, a lunch out with the girls, I took the cash and slid it into that jar. $5 here, 10 there. Hope in rolled-up bills. I was 64 when James died. And I remember thinking, on the day we buried him, that love shouldn't have to end in a plot of dirt. That maybe, just maybe, I could keep some of it alive. Not in flowers, not in sermons, but in a shared memory. So I made a promise. One day I would take the whole family to Hawaii, back to where James and I went on our honeymoon. We were just kids then, 24 and penniless. We had one suitcase between us, got sunburned on day 2, and laughed so hard James nearly choked on a pineapple slice. We were broke, but together. That place became sacred in my heart. So I thought, maybe if I could bring the family there, our family, they'd feel it too. The love, the legacy, the history. So I saved. I canceled my cable, tutored English online until my eyes blurred. I turned the thermostat down in winter and doubled up on socks. Every spare penny, every small sacrifice went into that jar. Eventually, the jar became an account. A real one, at the bank. A travel fund with my name on it. By year 2, I was researching villas with enough rooms for 9. Me, Nathan, Tanya, the 2 kids. Tanya's parents, Tanya's sister and her boyfriend, and yes, even them. Because I believed in unity, even when I was being uninvited from the photo. I called the travel agent dozens of times, making sure there were no stairs Tanya's mother would struggle with. I asked about dietary restrictions, snorkeling packages, and luau options that wouldn't run too late for the kids' bedtime. I designed custom t-shirts. I ordered travel-size shampoos and sunscreen for everyone. I bought a box of lavender candles, one for each of us to lighten James's memory. Every detail, every dollar, every dream, mine, and they let me do it. Tanya nodded and said, "That's great, Marilyn." Nathan thanked me once, vaguely over dinner, distracted by his phone. But mostly they were silent, letting me plan and pay and hope. And God help me, I hoped it would bring us closer. That maybe Nathan would sit beside me on the beach and remember he once drew a picture of me wearing a cape that said, "My mom saves the day." That maybe the grandkids would splash in the same waves James once ran through. That maybe, just maybe, I would be seen again. Not as an afterthought or obligation, but as a pillar of the family I built with my own two hands. But hope can be cruel. Hope will have you laying out sundresses you haven't worn in a decade. Hope will make you pack photo frames and a box of matches handles that will never be lit. Hope will make you pour your whole soul into a trip and forget to check whether you were invited. I wasn't. And when that text came, when my son told me his wife preferred to keep it just her family, the hope didn't die. No. Hope howled. Hope screamed and shattered inside me like glass. Because that was when I realized they never meant to include me. They used my dream like scaffolding. They let me build it, decorate it, paint it with memory, and when it was finished, they locked the doors behind me and toasted inside. I wasn't their mother anymore. I was a sponsor, an investor. But they forgot something. Even investors can pull out. And I was about to. The morning after the text, I didn't cry. I didn't scream or call anyone. I moved through the house like a shadow wearing my skin, folding blankets that didn't need folding, wiping spotless counters, checking clocks that ticked too loud in the silence. You've already done your part by paying. That sentence echoed in my chest like a knock that never stopped. When did I become a line item? When did I go from mother to bank account? Around 2 p.m. while checking my email for a grocery receipt, I saw it. Subject, final itinerary, Hawaii family vacation, sent by the travel agency. My name wasn't in the subject line. That should have been the first clue. But still, like a fool, I clicked. 8 names. Nathan, Tanya, the kids, Tanya's parents, Tanya's sister's boyfriend. That's it. 8 tickets. 8 Lees. 8 guests registered at the villa. No ninth. No Marilyn. No mom. No grandma. I scrolled, slowly, looking for my name like a woman searching a missing persons list. Maybe I'd been booked separately. Maybe there was a mistake. There wasn't. I wasn't forgotten. I was erased. And then came the phone call. Not from Nathan. God forbid he face the mother who gave him life. No, it was Tanya. Chirpy, hollow, weaponized cheer. We're just finishing up packing. Hope everything's set on your end, money-wise. My end? She meant my end, the one where I kept funding their dream while sitting alone in mine. I asked softly if they needed anything. Games for the kids, snacks for the flight, motion sickness bands. She cut me off. Marilyn, we've got it all handled. Actually, we were thinking it might be best if you took this time to rest. Stay home. Focus on yourself. Rest. That's what you tell an old dog when you're about to take it on its last walk to the vet. They had planned the whole trip without me, and now they were dressing it up in concern, as if this exclusion was some kind of favor. After the call, I stood staring out the window at the bird bath James installed 20 years ago. The water didn't move. Still. Like me. Not angry, not surprised, just done. I went to the closet, pulled down the fireproof lockbox, and opened it. Inside, all the receipts, the banking statements, the contract for the villa, and the final printout that proved what I had suspected all along. Account holder, Marilyn Rose Monroe, authorized users, none. Linked cards, 6. Owner of all linked transactions, me. They hadn't even tried to hide the betrayal. They spent my money like they owned it. But the thing about money is, only the owner can close the account. So I did, but not right away. No, I waited. I gave them one last chance. I sent Nathan a message. Let me know if you'd like help with the kids' bags. I can bring extra snacks or motion sickness bands for Olivia. Read. No reply. No thanks, Mom. No appreciate it. No we'd love to see you. Just silence. And that was all I needed. I opened the banking app, clicked the settings tab, scrolled to transaction lock. A small message appeared. Activate freeze mode. All linked cards will be disabled. Manual authorization required to resume transactions. I waited, hovered, then click. Freeze mode activated. No email would be sent. No alert. They would find out the way I found out I wasn't invited. In silence. In real time. When their cards stopped working at the airport counter. I leaned back, took a sip of peppermint tea, and whispered to the empty room, "They planned their paradise without me. Let's see how far they get without the bank." They left for the airport just before dawn, matching straw hats, coordinated luggage. Tanya posted a photo from the back seat of the Uber, the kids grinning, Nathan flashing a peace sign. Caption, off to paradise. Family only. Those last two words sliced through me. Not even subtle, just final. I saw it while sipping coffee from an old chipped mug, the same one Nathan once used when he brought me breakfast in bed at age 9. Toast and runny eggs with a daisy on the tray. He had written, "For the best mom in the world." Now that same boy had cut me out like I was a tumor, and smiled while doing it. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the mug. I watched. Their story played out in real time. At check-in, at security, at the gate. Tanya's mother posing in front of the airline sign like it was a red carpet. 8 smiles. No seat for me. Then came the first text from Nathan. "Hey, getting weird error at check-in. Can you check the travel account real quick?" I didn't answer. 5 minutes passed. They're saying the card was declined. You seeing anything? Still nothing from me. Then came the calls. First one every 10 minutes, then every 5. Then back to back. Voicemails filled my inbox. "Mom, it's me. Please call. We can't get the rental confirmed. They're saying the card's dead. The kids are upset. Just let me know if something happened, okay?" And then finally, one with a different tone. A quieter, pleading whisper. "Mom, if this is about the text, can we just talk? Please?" No apology. No accountability. Just desperation now that their paradise was slipping from their hands. I let the phone buzz itself breathless. At exactly 8:27 a.m., 18 minutes before boarding, I poured myself another cup of tea and walked into the living room. The house was silent. The kind of silence that speaks. Then came the email. Subject, booking cancellation request. Confirmed from the resort. "Dear Miss Monroe, we have processed your request to cancel the reservation at our oceanfront villa. Due to the account freeze, all charges have been reversed. Thank you, the Hawaiian Escape Team." I read it twice, then let out a breath. I hadn't known I'd been holding since I clicked freeze. There would be no welcome drinks waiting for them. No leis. No beachfront dinners. No candlelit tributes to a man they barely remembered but were happy to use as vacation decoration. Nathan texted again at 10:40 a.m. "We're boarding. Call me, please." But I didn't. Let them take off. Let them fly, thinking they were heading to paradise, with no place to land. By noon, I had 53 missed calls. From Nathan, from Tanya, even from Tanya's mother. I didn't listen to a single voicemail. I went for a walk instead. The air was warm. The birds sang. My neighbor waved and asked, "Heading somewhere for spring break, Marilyn?" I smiled. "Not yet," I said, "but soon." When I got home, the phone had stopped ringing. One final message waited from Nathan. "Look, if this was about what we said, maybe we messed up, okay? I don't know. Things got twisted. But the kids are here. They're excited. We can still fix this. Please just unlock the account. I promise we'll talk everything through when we get back." That was the moment I knew. They didn't want to repair the damage. They wanted the vacation. They wanted forgiveness without confession. They wanted me to foot the bill for their silence, and then wait by the door like a dog, wagging my tail for crumbs of attention. So no, I didn't unlock the account. I didn't answer. Because some silences aren't the absence of words, they're the presence of power. The refunds began trickling in 2 days after their flight. First came a soft ping on my phone, then another, and another, the sound of money returning to its rightful owner. $5,800, resort villa refund. $1,045, car rental cancellation. $880, airline tickets, minus taxes. $900, private snorkeling excursion. $750, luau dinner package. $450, deposit for private chef. $180, welcome lease. Each notification was a reversal of betrayal. Not just dollars and cents, but the quiet erasure of a woman they thought too tired to fight. They thought I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't do anything, that I'd sit at home knitting mittens and praying for a FaceTime call that never came. But I had noticed, and I had done something. And now? Now I was taking everything back. I didn't respond to their messages. I didn't answer Nathan's latest "please just talk" text. I let their silence rot in the same grave they had tried to bury me in. My travel fund, once emptied by love, was full again. But this time, love wouldn't be blind. This time it wouldn't wear their names. I opened my notebook, the same one where I had once jotted down James's fishing recipes, his favorite Elvis songs, and the name of every grandchild in the order they were born. I flipped to a clean page, wrote 3 words at the top: "The Forgotten Women." and underneath I began the list. Carol from church, who hadn't had a visitor on Christmas in 5 years. Frances, who still wore her wedding ring, though her husband had left her 3 decades ago. Beverly, who cared for a brother with dementia and slept on a cot beside his hospital bed. Nora, who once whispered to me after service, "The worst part of aging isn't the pain, it's the invisibility." Lucille, my old neighbor, who spent 40 years as a librarian and had never seen the ocean. Dewey, the nurse's aide who drove me home from the clinic once, wouldn't let me pay her back and sent me a birthday card last year signed for the grandma I never had. 6 women, 6 overlooked lives. 6 souls too often dismissed with a smile and a "you doing okay, sweetheart?" in the hallway. I picked up the phone and made 6 calls. Each conversation began the same way. Awkward. Disbelieving. "You want to take me where?" "Hawaii, sweetheart." "For how long?" "1 week. No catch." But why me? And my answer, every time, because someone should. Because you matter. I booked the villa under my own name this time. 1 oceanfront home. 6 women, 7 nights. No family tags, no backseat photos, no captions that read family only. Just presence. Just honor. Just joy that didn't come with a price tag. I called the travel agent and gave her new names. Names worth remembering. I asked for separate beds. A large table with space enough for us to sit together every night. And then I went to the box beneath my bed. Inside was the photo of James I had planned to bring on the trip, the one they were going to use for a memorial dinner I was never invited to. His smile still strong, still mischievous, still mine. I had the photo enlarged. Framed in soft walnut, not gold. Walnut ages beautifully, darkens with time, like truth. I wrapped it in bubble wrap, tucked it beside my folded sun hat. And when we arrived at the villa, a place perched above the water where palm trees danced in the breeze like slow-moving prayer flags, I set James at the center of the dining table. No one asked me to move him. No one said he was taking up space. That first night, Carol wore a bright scarf and poured wine like she was baptizing the room. Beverly made a toast, to a place I didn't have to clean. Frances cried when she saw the ocean from her window, and we didn't talk about who forgot us. We talked about who we remembered. We made a ritual of it. Every night after dinner, when the dishes were cleared and the wine glasses left with streaks of lipstick, we lit a candle. Not just any candle. Lavender. James's favorite scent. I placed his photo, walnut frame, gently worn, at the center of the table like a compass pointing home. Around him, 6 women, worn soft by life, but not broken, not anymore. Each night, one of them would light the flame, and each would say something they wished someone had told them at 30. It began quietly. Tentative. "I see you," whispered Frances, hands trembling, tears catching on her lashes. "You're allowed to rest," said Beverly, lifting her glass like an oath. "You don't have to earn love." Carol, her voice shaking like the candle's wick. "Your story matters." Dewey, so soft we leaned in just to hear her. "You are not a burden," said Lucille, staring at the flame as if it were her younger self. "You are never invisible." Nora, before she broke down and we had to pass her tissues under the table. And then it was my turn. The last candle. The 7th night. I struck the match with hands that had once wiped every tear from Nathan's cheek, that had once packed school lunches, hemmed his pants, and folded his college acceptance letter into a keepsake box. "This," I said, staring into the flame, "was supposed to be for them, for my family. But I think maybe it was always meant for this." I lit the candle, watched the wax begin to melt, slow and steady, like the years I gave without hesitation, like grief dissolving into truth. Beverly reached across the table and touched my hand. "I didn't think I'd feel this again," she whispered. "Peace. Gratitude. Like I mattered. And I didn't think it would come from someone like you." I turned to her, surprised. "Someone like me?" She nodded. "Someone who knows what it's like to give everything and still be left outside the door." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just held her hand tighter. Later, we went to the beach. No script. No ceremony. Just 6 women and me, barefoot in the sand, the tide curling at our ankles like the past trying to pull us under one last time. Each woman carried something. A shell, a ribbon, a slip of paper with a name written in fading ink. A single photo, creased at the corners. A memory they'd never been allowed to speak aloud. We stood in a circle, surrounded by moonlight and waves, and I said it not to them, not even to James, but to the part of me that had been waiting too long for someone else to say it. I'm not sad anymore. And I wasn't. Not angry, not waiting for Nathan to call, not hoping Tanya would wake up with regret. I wasn't holding space for anyone who had never held it for me. I had stopped carrying what they refused to share, and for the first time in decades, I felt light. I looked at them, my chosen family. Carol, laughing in a windbreaker 2 sizes too big. Nora, barefoot, holding a seashell to her heart. Dewey, humming some half-remembered lullaby. Frances, closing her eyes to feel the breeze on her face. Lucille, writing a postcard to herself. Beverly, still holding my hand. This, I thought, is what family looks like when no one's trying to impress each other. Just presence. Just joy. Just the permission to be. That night, after we returned from the beach, I sat on the porch alone. The candle still flickered faintly beside James's photo. The air smelled of salt and lavender, the kind of peace no money could buy. I thought of that email. Nathan's pathetic attempt to convert betrayal into negotiation. The way they had assumed I would fund their joy even after they exiled mine. I smiled. Not out of bitterness, out of truth. The kind of smile you wear when you finally realize you were never the problem. I wasn't left behind. I just stopped walking toward people who were never planning to wait for me. The next morning, I sat on the edge of the porch steps, toes buried in warm sand, watching the sun crack the sky open like a secret too long kept. Behind me, the villa hummed with soft laughter and coffee brewing. Ahead of me, the tide whispered promises the world had long forgotten to keep. I closed my eyes and listened. Not to the ocean, to myself. I heard it clearly now. The absence. The silence where my son's voice should have been. The quiet where apologies never arrived. And I realized I didn't need them, because I had something better. I had peace. I thought back to the email. Nathan's request, dressed up in guilt and vague half-remorse. Could you maybe consider returning the original deposit? As if love was a loan. As if betrayal was refundable. He hadn't given me anything but assumption that I would pay. That I would stay quiet. That I would feel grateful, just to be adjacent to their joy. But mothers are not vending machines. We are not banks with expiration dates. We are not background characters in the homes we built. I had given enough. I didn't reply, didn't return a cent. Because if you have to explain why you won't fund your own erasure, then they were never listening to you in the first place. I poured myself a glass of iced tea, lemon wedge floating like a small sun. I walked through the villa, barefoot, touching the back of every chair, every doorknob, every railing, like claiming land long stolen. This space was mine. This life was mine. And I had rewritten it with every candle, every name spoken, every breath of ocean air that had never once asked me to shrink. I thought about how long I had tried to belong to people who saw me only as useful. How many rooms I had entered as a guest in my own story. How many holidays I had smiled through, hoping for a seat at the table I built. But not anymore. Now I sat at a table where no one needed me to earn my presence. Where I was not a burden, but a blessing. Where love was not a transaction, but a choice made daily. We spent our last day combing the beach for shells, dancing under string lights, rereading postcards we had written to ourselves. When evening came, I took the final candle, melted down to its stub, and carried it to the shoreline. I let the sea take it. The wax, the match, the weight. I whispered 3 words, I release you. I released the dream of the family that never held space for me. I released the ache of asking to be seen. I released the identity of martyrdom I'd worn like skin. The ocean received it all, no judgment, no conditions, and in its place I felt something return. Freedom. Not loud, not triumphant, not the kind they make movies about. The kind that breathes quietly in your chest when you finally stop asking for permission to matter. I turned back toward the women. They were already packing. Carol waving a sun hat. Nora cradling a bottle of beach sand. Dewey humming again, a song that sounded like goodbye and beginning all at once. You Beverly asked. I nodded. More than I've ever been. And we left. No Instagram post, no hashtags, no fanfare. Just the 7 of us heading home from something sacred. Something claimed. Something earned. When I got back, the house was still. The wind chime James had hung for our 35th anniversary sang low and light in the breeze. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where months ago I had unwrapped tiny souvenir bags for grandchildren who never wanted me there. This time I didn't cry. I opened a fresh notebook, and on the first page I wrote, "Those who walk with me." And I began a new list, not of the ones who left me behind, but the ones who walked beside me. Not blood, but bond. Not duty, but devotion. Not family by name, but by choice. Because love isn't something you owe, it's something you build. And if they ever ask again what happened, why I didn't send the money, why I stopped waiting, why I lit that final candle alone, I'll tell them this. Because silence taught me more than your words ever did. And that will be the end of it. The end, but not the end of her.